Hey, welcome back to the CommonGround North Dakota podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Jen.
I've been a chef for 10 years.
And I'm a registered dietitian. We've all heard the saying, farm to table. But what if the conversation was table to farm?
Join Jen and I as we sit down with ag experts to dig in and find out more about North Dakota agriculture.
Welcome back to Common Ground. I'm Jen.
I'm Heather.
And hey, we're back for another podcast.
We're back for another one. It seems like we're just going right through it. Like what is this for us?
19?
19.
I
know, it's amazing. Okay, and I do have a little embarrassing tidbit.
Okay.
The other day, someone approached me and said, hey, I've been watching your YouTube channel and I love it. And I'm like, I don't have a YouTube channel. And then I got home and I'm like, they were talking about the podcast.
Yes.
Common Ground North Dakota is on YouTube.
We are on YouTube.
Yes.
It blew my 9-year-old's mind.
Yes.
She's like, I watch YouTube shorts. I'm like, Mom's on YouTube. She's like, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I am.
Yes, we are. Okay, so good little reminder.
Yes, where we're found, where we can be found, and we're YouTube famous according to my kids and this person.
Uh-huh.
So last time we learned a lot. What was your favorite fun fact from the trivia?
Well, the goldfish in the water, I'm still thinking about.
I know, and I mean, it could be beautiful. It could be like a clear water tank with goldfish swimming.
Yes.
I mean, something you would never expect when you're on the farm and you're going out to check the cows and then you see random goldfish.
Right.
I love it. Such fun facts that we learn on here.
They were great.
I know. And I'm excited today to learn more about Common Ground and how it started. So we have an awesome guest today, and I'm sure we'll have tons of questions for her. So welcome, Christy.
Welcome, Christy.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here. You guys are famous to me.
We're famous. Yes, we've made it. I love it. So Christy, you have awesome connections. So us as consumers of agriculture, always fascinated to learn about okay, what crops do we grow here? How does that happen? Talk about farm operations, just help us learn. So tell us a little bit about your connection to Common Ground. When did you start volunteering with Common Ground and kind of
what is Common Ground? Because we're the hosts of the Common Ground podcast, but you've been with Common Ground since...
Common Ground in North Dakota started in 2012.
Okay.
I started getting involved with it maybe about 2 to 3 years after that.
Okay.
So I had noticed, the thing that caught my eye was an event near Fargo called Dinner in the Field.
Okay.
Banquet in the Field.
Yes.
I always say it wrong. Banquet in the Field.
That one.
Yes, we did.
And I had seen some stories on it and also in farm magazines and things like that. And it just caught my attention. So I wanted to learn more about it. So the premise of Common Ground is it's a way to connect farmers and ranchers to talk to the general public or to consumers about their food.
Mm-hmm.
And the national started Common Ground, came up with the words, because that's what we do. We're finding common ground.
Yep. It's a great name.
We all eat.
Yep.
Yes.
Not very many of us as Americans grow the food that we eat, but we all eat. And we all have the similar values in feeding our family and looking for healthy, safe food. And so that's where they came up with Common Ground. And it came to different states. So there's a national Common Ground, and then each state can have a Common Ground as well, too.
Okay.
Not every state does.
Okay.
But they work with the corn and soybean councils in different states. And now North Dakota and the national are both working with the Corn Council.
Wonderful.
So it's just a fabulous way to share your story, a way to tell people about what we do.
That's
so
great.
fun, hearing the stories. That's the best part ever.
Yeah. And everybody's is different.
Yeah.
I think that's what I've found too, that a lot of the public or consumers might think every farm looks the same.
Right.
And as you guys are learning, they don't.
It's all the dynamics of the families and what they're growing. So you are a producer as well?
Yes. My husband and I farm and ranch on his home farm, which is near Esmond, North Dakota.
Okay.
If you don't know where that is, it's kind of between Rugby and Harvey.
Okay.
West of Devil's Lake.
Okay.
Kind of north central. It's the farm he grew up on. His grandparents founded that farm.
Okay.
And now our oldest son is farming with us as well. So that's really exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the town of Esmond has 100 people.
Yeah, about that.
Oh my goodness.
It's very small. So our kids actually went to school in Rugby. So very rural living where you go a good 25 miles to find anything except the good old town of Esmond does still have a cafe and a bar, and that's really all you need.
Nice.
And they have what is it? The Opera House? Or
that's in Maddock, which is only about 15 miles away.
And you're involved with that too?
I have helped do some volunteering there. I'm not a musician or an artist, but Maddock is near and dear to me because that's actually where I grew up.
Okay.
Okay, so you're from the area too. All right.
I had no intentions of returning to the area. I went to school at UND. Go Hawks. And
I know. I have loyalties on both sides.
I know. And I did work for a year in the science field in Bismarck in the health department. I have an environmental science degree.
Oh, cool.
And I just thought, I'm doing science, man. And then my friends introduced me. I should step back. My two other friends who were never going to move back to the rural area met farmers and were living there and introduced me to my husband, Gerald. And there I am.
There you are. You're back on the farm. That's awesome, though.
But an environmental science degree, I can see that helping out on the farm as well.
Well, that is what slowly surprised me. I mean, I did grow up on a farm. It's not in my family anymore. So I had some of the background. But the more I got involved with helping him with day-to-day operations and learning about the land, and we have cattle on our farm too, besides crops, it really fits to things I had learned about.
Yeah.
Whether it's, grass or conservation and wildlife and protecting our water, all these things. So I could understand where the science and agriculture was going.
Oh, for sure.
It's been a good fit.
Good.
That's great. Okay, so CommonGround, you went to the dinner in the field.
Yep.
And you thought, I want to be part of this organization?
I did. I just loved the connections that were happening. It was kind of about those times where there was more and more myths and misconceptions out on the internet, in the public of what are modern farmers doing when they raise our food. And after watching my husband and our family care for the cattle that we raise and the crops and conserving, we farm differently than my dad did in the 70s because you're not seeing soil erosion anymore. You're not seeing those things. And so to be able to find a way to share those stories was really fun. And so CommonGround then was doing the dinner, and they were doing other various things they would get involved with. There might be an event at the zoo where families and farmers could connect, helping create different areas like that. So that's kind of what was my interest. I stayed involved. I went to some national conferences where you meet other farmers across the country that are doing the same thing.
Cool.
The original concept is that it's women farmers talking to women, because it's probably better now, but back then it still was the majority of women doing the cooking and the grocery shopping.
Right.
And so that was where that CommonGround connection came from too.
Well, and I love the idea of using conversation, to get to
get to the truth.
Myths, right?
Well, and like Heather and I being in the food industry, so like dietetics, like everybody's an expert because everybody eats, right? So it's like, well, is that actually science-based? Or like, what does the research tell us? And is that actually a fact? So I love the fact-finding message about this, and actually talking to the folks that are growing the products and raising the cattle, like you said. And like, is this actually true? And we find out that, that's probably
not true.
And Heather, with your chef background, and like, you're exposed to tons of new foods. And so it is really interesting. And I think it's a source of truth.
Right. Well, and
Absolutely.
You have the science piece. And you have the farming piece, right? So you really do have a great perspective.
I have found a good way to do that, because there definitely are times someone has done the research and they want to know more of the science. They want to understand, what is a GMO crop, what isn't. They want to understand pesticides and things. But then there's also, so that concept I can talk about, but I can also talk about and put the face to the family farmer.
Yeah, the connection.
That we are people out here doing what our families have always done.
Right.
And we're using modern technology just like every other job is using modern technology.
Absolutely.
And so I think when you can combine that and sharing your stories, like you said, and people see that, farmers are just real people,
Yes.
Right.
They're just like the rest of us doing the best they can in their business.
Yeah. And really highlighting where food comes from and how it's raised, I think is always a good thing. It's like the why behind things. Like when kids ask you like, well, why? Well, this is the reason. And it helps create like that. Oh, I get it now. instead of it's just how we've always done it, or this is the assumption. So I think that's important to share the why, and like, why do we do these things? Well, it's to help feed the world, or like, this is to help create more like pest resistant crops, or, you know, those types of things. So, and like with my farm background, I say that loosely because I didn't do the farming. My sister actually went to NDSU and graduated in crop and weed science. And something you said earlier really connected with me. She's like, Jen, I help grow the products and you cook them. And I'm like, whoa. Dietitians dabble in the culinary arts. That's Chef Heather's like area.
Exactly.
Like, I can tell you what nutrients are in them, but
which is
Heather
important.
cooks them. So
it brings every aspect of it.
It does,
right?
It does. It has that connection to like all the education that you do in your role, and that I do, and that Heather does.
Right.
So it's really important. So
well, I think that's so true, because as more and more people are living urban, you know, they think the grocery store is where food comes from. And, you know, we forget. And I've been amazed how even in North Dakota, where you're driving, literally, you don't leave a town without driving past fields.
yeah,
Or at least once you get out of the valley, seeing animals.
absolutely.
And a lot of people still don't understand or even know what's growing out there or where it's going. So, you know, that's what's been really fun, is to see more of those connections be shared and people understanding what we're doing out here as farmers.
Well, and I think too, growing up in an agriculture community, seeing it all the time, because I remember growing up driving and my dad would be like, oh, that's that. And I'm like, okay, Dad.
Yes, the educational piece.
But now I really want to know, right? Now I have a genuine interest. So the other day we were driving and I looked at a crop. I'm like, oh, what is that one? I wanted to call my dad to find, because before I don't think I just didn't care as much, right?
True.
Like, it was just because it's everywhere. But now I really want to know.
Yep.
You want to know what it is. You want to know what they do with it.
Wait, where's it going? Am I eating that?
Like driving by the potato fields that are now flowering. I'm like, Zach, the potato fields are flowering. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm like,
all of a sudden you're much more aware.
I know.
Right?
I'm like, oh, that looks like a good soybean crop.
I know. Do I really know if it's a good crop or not?
I don't know. I'm just,
I know it's soybeans, okay?
Yep.
Which is good.
Right?
That's absolutely right. That's a big part of what I like about Common Ground, is that the podcast has been fabulous, you know, and I think having hosts like both of you that aren't farmers and ranchers, but you're talking to people that helps farmers and ranchers in their jobs. You're talking to farmers and ranchers. It's just the perfect mix, because we've covered every aspect then of the food supply.
And there's so many different aspects. And
there's so many.
Those conversations. And being that you've been with Common Ground for a while now, how has your conversation changed over the years? Like, what do you find yourself talking about now as opposed to when you first started volunteering?
True. I think when I first started, you know, even though there was some of the big myths out there, it was almost a little easier to, you know, put that face, that the studies still show that the general public does have trust in farmers. But being, you know, every year, the more social media and the more things you're fighting against, it is a little bit harder to debunk some of those myths.
Right.
And I think the other part that's hard is, as a commodity farmer like us, we raise wheat and soybeans and our cattle. We haven't dabbled into any of the direct marketing yet. And for our bigger crops, that's hard to do. But we as farmers too aren't always sure of the next step in every process, because we just aren't able to follow. That's why there's people to like the 3 farm daughters, you know, I mean, that's fabulous, but not every farm is going to be able to do that.
Sure.
Right? And so I think some of that has become a little more difficult to find ways to, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm producing this product, but it doesn't always mean that I had anything to do with the next step in the product.
Right.
I still trust what I sold, and I still think it's a healthy, good product. But
once it leaves your hands,
the process,
it's then that can be different. So I think some of that is a little hard to explain, just because even as farmers and ranchers, we don't always understand that. But we do know that our, you know, whether it's our beef or our soybeans or wheat, they're being sold on a market. They're further inspected. It's, you know, we have faith in the system. You know, I think that's my biggest thing I try to tell people is I'm not nervous buying food in a grocery store. I also love to buy at a local market. The diversity in our food is amazing, and we should be thankful for that.
Truly. And we live in North Dakota, so we need both, right?
We do.
You have to
Absolutely.
shop everywhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, I am not a great gardener, but I keep trying every year.
I mean, right?
Because I do love a fresh tomato and a fresh cucumber.
Same.
But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go buy that product in the store.
True.
And same with our beef. We raise our own, but I have some in the freezer, but I'm not hesitant to go buy from the store either. Because that very well could have been raised in North Dakota too.
Right. It's amazing like how many products, when you think about it, actually have ties back to North Dakota.
Right.
Because aren't we the top producer of like 18 different
I think it's an
products?
amazing number.
It's a lot.
It's cool. It's really cool.
I notice it too when you get the further west. I happened to be in the Minot area yesterday for a meeting, and the diversity just keeps getting further and further,
What were they growing out there?
There's a lot more canola. You get into more peas. You get into lentils. You get into, there's dry beans more here, but you get into flax.
Okay.
It's just the soil is different that they can grow a lot more diverse. You'll see more barley.
Okay.
All kinds of different crops than you'll see in the valley just because of the soil types.
Yeah, and you can see the changing landscape. So I recently took a trip to Glacier National Park in Montana, and we were able to then drive the whole way across North Dakota, and it's fascinating. If you haven't been to North Dakota, if you're listening, there's a dramatic difference from living in the valley
absolutely
to way out west in the Badlands area. And not that that's a bad thing. I think it's fascinating and it's amazing, but it is different.
Yeah.
You'll see like more ranches and ranching out west, and you can just see the evolution as you drive, Highway 2.
Right.
Or I-94.
All of a sudden there's a little dip in the road. And
Yeah,
you're like, wait a second.
What is that? It's a hill.
It's a huge hill.
It's a hill. I'm like, we're in the mountains. And my husband's like, no, we're not in the mountains.
True North Dakota girl.
I'm like, wow, that's a big mountain. He's like, yeah, they're called hills.
Yeah. And those of us that have lived further west in North Dakota our whole life, we get here and we think, it's so flat.
I can see for 15 miles.
So the diversity is just wonderful. And then that's what does give us all these different crops and animals to grow too. So, yeah, it's fascinating.
It is. It is. Oh, I have so many questions for you, Christy. So I was reading in your bio, and it said, are you a crop adjuster too?
I am.
So tell us a little bit about that, and what does that mean? What does a crop adjuster do?
Exactly. So I started working about 4 years. I had been working full-time on our farm with my husband, and our oldest son came back from school to farm with us.
Okay.
And I just physically wasn't needed to be available as much.
Okay.
And honestly, it was time for me to do something on my own, a little separate from the farm. But I still loved working with agriculture, and it's a great fit. It's a very flexible job because I work from home. When you live very remotely, that's very important.
Yes.
And what it is it's works with crop insurance.
Okay.
So farmers use many tools to help their risk every year.
Okay.
We all know that weather is out of our control. Like right now, it's getting very dry out there in areas.
Yes.
So you might have a crop that's growing really well and going to produce very good, and then it starts drying up.
Yep.
So crop insurance is something that farmers take no different than you take auto insurance, than you take homeowners insurance. So if you've ever had a claim, been unfortunate enough to use your insurance, you know that an adjuster is involved. And that person comes and looks at your vehicle, or you send them pictures, or they come and see your damage.
Okay.
So that's what I am doing for the crop insurance industry. So when a farmer has a claim that my crop didn't produce what I normally do, they've proven their yields, what they normally produce, then they can put in a claim with their crop insurance, and I'm there to find the facts.
Okay.
So you go out to the field, you assess.
look at the crop.
Yeah, I'm not an agronomist. I have methods that appraise the crop of what it would have produced. If they've already harvested, I'm collecting all their harvest information, whether it's in the bins or whether they sold the product. I'm the information gatherer.
Wow.
So this spring, there were some areas in North Dakota that were too wet and couldn't plant all their crop.
Okay.
So they have what they call prevented plant acres.
Okay.
So I'm taking pictures. I'm going through their records of how many acres they normally plant, and then they may qualify for a crop insurance claim.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's protection.
Right.
It is.
For the farmer.
It is, when your livelihood depends on the weather,
Yeah.
You know, if you could had to take your check and, okay, if I got too much rain or not enough rain, I'm going to get paid a little less this month. That's kind of a scary thought.
It is really scary. And there's there's nothing you can do about it, right? There's a hailstorm coming. I can put my car in the garage.
Right.
But your crop.
You're not going to
can't
cover
do that.
Can't put it in a garage.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Well, that's got to keep you busy.
It does. And it can really depend on the year and what timing of the year. But it's a fun job because I get a mix of working at home in my office and working on the road. I still get to talk to farmers and ranchers, which is great. And I'm helping them with a problem that they're facing.
Right.
So.
Well, and you being a farmer yourself, I'm sure those conversations are easier for you.
It really has helped. It's given me, because I have that knowledge and background to know what they're going through, and I can understand how and when they harvest and how and when they plant and all those kinds of things. So it has been interesting.
Relatable, right?
I hope so. I try to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's good that our farmers can be protected, especially you heard about hail sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So there's hail storms, if it's too wet,
too dry. It's fascinating because the companies are generally not nationwide companies. So our same company might be helping people in an area that got a hurricane.
Right.
They might be helping people in California who got smoke on their grapes. It's so agriculture, not let alone North Dakota being diverse, but you start thinking of the whole country. There's
orchards,
apples, there's all these things. So a lot of these products, a lot of these crops do have crop insurance, and so it's one more thing that farmers have to take care of and keep. When people wonder what are farmers doing all year, when on the off season they're working on a lot of these plans, and
because if you're a farmer, you have crop insurance.
Generally, you're not required to. That's another misconception in farming. You're not required to take. You are an individual business. You're not required to take crop insurance. You're not required to use the government farm service agency, but almost all do.
Okay.
It would be difficult to farm without those safety nets.
Yeah, I imagine.
So
there's just too many variables.
There's too many risks. Yeah, there are all ways to mitigate risk. Absolutely. And to me, CommonGround is a way to fight risk. If I don't share my story, consumers might demand something that I'm not capable to produce, or they're going to demand something that they don't realize is a safe product and is a good way. So I look at CommonGround and sharing our egg story as a way to protect your farm, just like crop insurance.
That's a great point. Right. People need to know the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you learn about something, the more trust you build in that product. And you just have knowledge is power.
For sure.
Knowledge is power, and finding out from real people, right?
Yeah.
Real people that have connections and I'm going to call you guys the experts because that's what you are.
Are you
that's why we bring you on.
I think so.
Yeah. That's
just can I call you the next time I don't know what to make for supper?
I know, right?
Call me.
Call Heather.
Absolutely.
Don't call me.
I won't call you.
You can call me with what to put on your plate.
There we go.
How do I balance my nutrition?
Yeah.
We'll answer your questions.
Yeah. For sure.
That's why we have experts in every field, right?
Right. If people want to get involved in CommonGround and they want to volunteer, how do they go about doing that?
That's a wonderful question. We would really like to get more of our farmers and ranchers involved. There was a period of years where we had a pretty good core base of volunteers, and then CommonGround kind of stepped away for a little bit. And now that we're active again, we would love to have if there's any farmers and ranchers listening, or if anybody knows someone who would be good at it, and you can get as little or as active involved as you want. You can get help on creating your own social media page. You can come to a dinner if we're working with another group. But, there's going to be varied ways. But we do have a great website, CommonGround North Dakota.
Yep.
And then Find Our CommonGround, I think, is the national website. So either website. We have a great Facebook page, CommonGround North Dakota. I think we've been sharing some of your podcast information on there. And there's places on the website if you're interested in being a volunteer, that you can click on that and fill in some information. Okay. And then you'll get contacted. Or you can also contact the North Dakota Corn Council.
Okay.
So yes, please reach out. If anybody listening knows me, you can reach out to me. We would love to get more volunteers. We're working on besides this wonderful podcast, what else can we do again to find some more events, create some more events and activities to mix the farmers and the consumers?
Well, and what a great idea to allow those future volunteers to come in with their own ideas.
It is, because as diverse as North Dakota is, there might be something out in the Dickinson Bismarck area that would be different than something we could do here in Grand Forks or Fargo. So yes, come to us with an idea and we'll see what we can come up with.
So Christy, speaking of ideas, are there, we sometimes come up with like great ideas on the podcast. We have lots of like business ideas. Anyway, what's in store for CommonGround? Are there any like cool things that you can give us the inside information?
Any secrets away or not?
I mean, you never know. We got to
sworn to secrecy.
We are working on some ideas besides the podcast. There's going to be some advertisement type information coming out that we've worked with some other strong women farmers. So look for some of that.
Okay.
We are sponsoring one of the sponsors for a dinner that's happening in the Minot area.
And what's that called?
That one's called Dinner on the Prairie.
Oh, cool.
And that's August 1st. Okay. So I was just there helping them go through some of the stuff they're doing with the farmers and ranchers. And it's going to be great. It's a very similar concept. In fact, the founders there did come to Fargo years ago to see what we did at Banquet in the Field. So that dinner is still, I think the chamber's slowly taking over some of the managing of that.
Okay.
So there are still events like that.
Yeah.
Whether CommonGround takes over and does their own flagship dinner, I'm not sure if that would happen in the future, but we're still in some of the brainstorming stages.
Yeah. And you're inspiring all these other dinners. And
yeah. So I think the more we can get some more volunteers and brainstorm and kind of think about, what could be our next. But I know I'd love to see something, whether it's a dinner or just some event that CommonGround does do every year that looks for more education opportunities.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
We love the dinner party idea.
I just love the idea of that. And what better way to send your message than having the producer and the consumer together at a table.
That's why we have a table.
It's a great concept, and Minot is doing the same way, where the beginning part of the appetizer hour, they try to have plots where the actual crops are growing.
Fun.
So, I remember helping in Fargo area, and that was, even though you drive by all these fields, like you said, when you can stand there and look at, that's what wheat looks like close up, or that's what a soybean plant looks like, and then the farmers, they're telling you about it. It just really is a great way to bring that full circle.
It's like hands-on learning.
Right. It's a different appreciation when you're standing right there.
Right. And then you go share a meal together or share an appetizer that included some of those ingredients. And
food is love.
It absolutely is.
It is what we do when we get together.
It's always surrounding, like in North Dakota, I always think about that. It surrounds our family gatherings.
It does.
We're like, when we celebrate things, food is usually involved.
But honestly, what else is there?
What else would we do, right? I know.
Yes.
Share a good meal. We're all about it.
A meal, a snack, a late night snack. Yeah, it's always there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. I love it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. And the volunteer opportunities. So many. So anyone that's wanting to get more involved or learn more, just go to CommonGround North Dakota.
Go to our website. That'd be the best way to find anything out. And like I said, the National CommonGround was based on women farmers and ranchers, but we're looking for any farmer and rancher that likes to share their story, that likes events like this or wants to get involved.
Yeah.
And, and maybe I don't know if you've noticed, but there's more and more when you talk about YouTube, there's more and more farmers sharing their stories and what they're doing.
There is.
And
so I feel like that brings more interest too, because people are watching, even myself.
Right.
I'm watching, I'm like, oh, that's what's going on?
I
want to know more.
Yep.
You're learning what people do day to day on their farms and ranches. And we can even supply some of the information on what are some good ways to go about doing your own social media page
that's
or
so
things
cool.
like that. Yeah.
Because that's what people are interested in. It's almost like reality TV.
It is.
It sucks me in. I love it.
I'm like,
I know.
what are they doing with the cows today?
Right.
Exactly.
It's how to participate almost like in the daily lives and like get a glimpse.
Right.
Like the secret life of farmers.
Right.
We do need more of that because, I think there was too long of a time where farmers were just doing their own thing. They weren't doing anything secretive.
Yeah.
But, if all of a sudden people started questioning, why you weren't sharing more. Well, there was just no need. We were just
we're just doing our job. We're just like feeding the world. No big deal over here.
Well, right. And I'm sure to a farmer, it's like, well, this is what I do every day.
Right.
Yeah, but to us, we're really interested in what you're doing every day.
I mean, I want to see the baby cows.
Yeah.
I want to see them.
And good to know that everyone's welcome. That you want everyone to volunteer.
We do. Yep. Okay. Anybody who's interested in helping share their story, or there's been some great little short video shorts on our Facebook page recently of different farmers and ranchers. So, reach out to us. Maybe we could come and do a short little little video of you on your farm.
Yeah, we want to learn. And I think that's like just the impression that I get from just visiting with my friends and connections and family. Like they're genuinely interested in the things that we're talking about here, and like, I didn't know that.
Right.
Even in farm family.
I know.
Like,
True.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Because we stay kind of in our lane sometimes, and we're just really laser focused on our specific goals. But then when you have the opportunity to learn how others are doing that, I mean, I think it's a world of knowledge that is important to have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great platform just to get all the things.
Yeah,
it really is.
My cousin told me she was listening to the corn episode, our very first episode.
The first one.
And she said she was on her way back from the gym, but she had to pause it because she was learning so much that she wanted to be sitting down and paying attention. And it was my favorite because people are truly captivated by the stories and all the information.
That's wonderful.
The fun facts that we learn.
Yes.
And a lot of those fun facts are basic things that farmers are talking about all the time. And we forget that so many people don't know.
Yes.
And so it's a great reminder to all of us to just share those.
And ask a farmer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to your neighbors and farmers, because they are the experts in what they do. And, I feel like, as adults, we're always learning things every single day. And even though like I'm now in like listed as a veteran member in my sports dietetic group, I'm like,
they added. Oh, well, because
veteran
you've been in
member.
For a long
Okay.
time.
Okay. Yep. I can embrace that. But like, I mean, I don't feel like I should be labeled that because I'm still learning stuff.
Sure.
I mean, there's so much to learn.
I don't know a farmer or rancher who wouldn't be happy to answer a question or, even have you come see their farm or things like that.
Yeah.
So that'd be one of my dreams, a little more agritourism in the state.
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll slowly get there. So.
I think so.
I think this next generation is more excited about that, and they understand the social media aspects and all that. So
yep.
You're right. We're seeing so much more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. As we see the shift in generations of the farmer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, cool. Ever changing.
Yes.
Well, Christy, I think it's time for our host halftime.
Host halftime. Grab that trophy.
All right.
Oh, I don't think we switched the name.
I won last time. Okay, hold on. Hold on, folks. I got to put my name on it.
I'm just wondering what Christy's questions are going to be. They could be so many things.
They could be.
Okay,
I might have to
put that there.
Trick you.
Okay, I'll get you
It really is fabulous in person.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to get a closer look?
Yeah, I do. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
We're hoping for a real gold one eventually, but
Right. Now, if you were a crop adjuster, you'd look at that corn and see that it's in the early dent phase.
Oh,
stage. So just so you know.
Kernels here?
Yeah, see how the kernels are.
Okay.
Are dented?
Yes.
So what does that mean, Christy?
It means it's just maturing, getting closer to, like it would be past the corn. When you buy your sweet corn, you don't really necessarily want the kernels to look like that.
because they're harder.
And what I remember you learning in your first corn episode is the difference between the field corn and the sweet corn.
Oh,
so this corn is starting to dry down.
Okay. And you can notice that even when it's spray painted gold.
I could see the dents.
Yeah,
yes.
you're good.
She's good, folks.
I'll pass that on to my boss. Okay, so you're ready for our first question?
Yes, first question.
Okay, farmers use a lot of different terms when they talk about farming. And when we talk about sharing our stories, we try to remind ourselves that not everybody understands the words we use.
Okay.
So one term we use is an acre. A farmer has this many acres. So 1 acre is about the size of what sports playing area?
Oh, I feel like I know this.
And yeah, it could be I don't want to give you okay, go ahead.
Football.
Whoa, you both
field.
got it right. Woohoo.
Yay!
1 acre is about the size of a football field.
Yep.
I was going to put Go Hawks on there, but then
You could.
I'm like, well,
Maybe
I
you
better
would've gotten
say Go
extra
Bison,
credit.
like on the
Yeah,
other
be careful.
side.
True.
I know. Ugh.
Okay, so this one is kind of relates to your acre. Might be a little harder. So on our farm, spraying season is kind of coming to an end.
Okay.
So we are a conventional farm. We do spray our crops. We use it to control weeds, right? And in our right now, the plants, whether it's soybeans or corn, have grown so much they canopy and they've covered. So we're not needing to spray anymore. We try to spray as little as possible.
Okay.
But when we spray glyphosate or Roundup, which is what's generally sprayed on corn and soybeans, and which has a misconception out there in the public. So on that 1 acre on your football field, how much chemical is being sprayed on that whole acre? I'll give you 3 options.
Okay.
A is 20 ounces, B is 1 gallon, and C is 15 gallons on that 1 acre.
I'm assuming it's being diluted. I'm say A.
1 gallon.
A is right. It's actually only 20 ounces.
20 ounces.
So on that 1 acre, the 15 gallons is probably more of how much water.
Okay.
So that 20 ounces, and 20 is maybe a little high. My husband said sometimes it's a little less even they use.
Wow. That's like very little.
That's all
Very
the chemical
little.
when you see that sprayer going down the field that's being sprayed.
And then you're saying the canopy of the plants, that protects them? You don't get as many weeds when that happens?
Right. So once that happens, that's why you really don't see anybody spraying anymore. Because once that has, I think about it in my pathetic garden too. Once my cucumbers can finally grow,
No weeds can get in there.
then there's less weeds.
Okay.
Because they can't get the sun. Is that what?
Yeah, I believe that's the main thing that the weeds are,
Sure.
that the plants are doing.
So they're
covering.
protecting themselves at that
Right,
point.
right.
Okay.
So farmers really do spray as little as possible.
That's, I would have
less.
never, like,
That's,
I would have never thought like 16 ounces.
Yeah. In one
One
so there you
football
go.
field.
Okay, so the other thing happening on our farm right now is it's haying season because we have cattle too.
Okay.
So my question, this is just a true or false question,
Okay.
because I've had people in the past be confused on what's hay and what's straw.
oh yeah.
But so when we're making hay,
Okay.
is the plant that they're cutting for hay at the time they're cutting it, is the plant alive or dead?
Okay. So
I said that wrong. It's not a true or false. You tell me if it's alive
if
or
it's
dead.
alive or dead.
When you're making hay. When you're making hay.
well, and now
At the
hay
time-
and straw are different. I mean,
See,
it's alive.
You both got that right.
Yay! I almost said dead, and I'm
Okay,
like,
wait. So
no,
straw
no.
is when it's not alive?
Straw is like
Correct.
like when you're combining and it comes out the back of the combine,
Okay.
and that's just for
Right.
bedding. Whereas hay has nutrients in
So,
it, right?
and it's probably easier for them to eat and digest, I'd
Well,
imagine.
it's still drying down. So when you see
Okay.
people cutting hay, they've cut their grass,
Yeah.
they've cut alfalfa, they've cut maybe sloughs that have had different grasses growing that they couldn't seed into that or
Right.
that type of thing. So and it's the marginal land that you're not going to plant a crop on.
Yeah.
But then they have to that has to dry before they can put it in a bale,
Right.
or else it will mold.
right.
So the plant, but you're right, when they cut it green, or my family raises some oats, and then
Okay,
we
yeah.
cut the oats when they're still green,
Okay.
let it dry, and then make oats bales.
Okay.
Well,
so
that sounds kind of good.
Yeah, and then they
Like
mix it with
oatmeal for
Could we
cattle.
exactly
Jeez.
probably try.
We could turn that into something because it's nutritious.
It is, yeah. So it has more of the nutrients. Whereas the straw, you're right. Straw is the stalks of wheat or barley, usually wheat, that then you save that stalk and put it into a bale.
Okay.
Mostly used for bedding in the winter months. Our family will grind some of that up and combine it with all the other good stuff in the winter,
Yep.
kind of as a filler.
Sure.
Oh, it's like
Little
insoluble fiber.
What we do with oatmeal.
See?
For
Insoluble
Yeah.
fiber, just like.
When you put your oatmeal in the hamburger, that's what you're doing to your...
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
there's your-
Heather
So
wins.
I guess Heather did win.
I shouldn't have even erased it. Like, what was I thinking?
Those were good questions.
Those
Oh,
were
good.
great. Those were great. Heather, you get the golden corn trophy. So we have one final question, Christy, that we
Yes.
ask everybody. But what's your favorite part of being connected to North Dakota agriculture?
I really think my favorite part is the fact that we are almost all family farms, and just watching my kids grow up on the farm, of course, was great, but watching them come into being able to help us on the farm and then seeing their love of it, well, except for my daughter, she doesn't, but she still loves she shares my story in Arizona where she lives, but she didn't want to farm.
Yep.
But my oldest son's farming with us. Our youngest son is in the John Deere Tech program. He may or may not be part of the farm one day. But we have so many times that we're all out there together.
Yeah.
And yes, we're doing work. We might be working with our cattle. We might be moving cattle around. We might be harvesting a crop. Someone's in the combine harvesting. Someone's driving trucks. Someone's bringing food out. Someone's doing all these things that I really just think that it gives us more of a family ownership. I mean, sometimes we're together too much. Can be one downfall. But we really, and then you drive down the road and the next family's doing the same thing.
Right.
I mean, yes, people have hired help things too, but the family farm concept is what I have really grown to love, and knowing that our family and our next generation is taking over from what his grandfather did, and making those improvements and changes to the land. And I have to say that's my favorite part.
The legacy.
Well, and it's true. We're growing good food, but good people too.
Right.
I think North Dakota, when people think of North Dakota, they think, oh gosh, there's such people from North Dakota are hard workers. There's such great people. Well, a lot of that's coming from farm families,
it kind of
right?
does come from that.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember after school, like having to go feed the pigs because we had to do chores. The pigs had to eat.
Exactly. They do like to eat every day.
They do, just like we us.
Do, for sure.
Well, this was great. Thank you for your time.
So much,
and
Christy.
if you want to get involved with Common Ground North Dakota, go to the website. You can find the volunteer button.
Yes.
Click that button.
Click the button. Check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, all those sources. YouTube.
Yes, we are on YouTube.
We are. That's awesome.
Great. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Great to see you.
We're looking forward to all the upcoming events and growing Common Ground.
Yes. I am as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, that was great.
Wow.
I feel like as the Common Ground podcast host, we learned a lot about Common Ground today.
Yep. Again, we're always learning.
Yes.
We're always learning. So like hay and straw.
I know.
Not everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Now we know.
Right. And how very little spray they use. That's like a pop bottle.
Yes. Tiny.
In a football field.
And diluted by so much water. Mm-hmm.
It's water.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah. Yes. And how like the canopy protects them.
Right.
All these fun facts, and there's more to learn. Coming up, I'm sure we'll have some amazing guests to tell us more stories about how they're connected to agriculture and what their specialty is.
Yes.
And just the stories behind it and the people behind it.
We still have so many to learn and find out about.
We do. Yeah, we do. So,
okay. Well, until next time, find us on Instagram, YouTube, Common Ground North Dakota. And we'll see you on our next show.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Common Ground North Dakota podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, send us your questions about North Dakota agriculture by visiting our website. You might win a prize. We'll see you in the next episode of the Common Ground North Dakota podcast.